Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show my people. Belize our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. And all the things that will feel happen like I got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. Get up, make every day count up. Wasted people, do your part, play your role, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time? Calling is the show. It no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show my people. Belize our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. And all the things that will feel happen like I got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling.
All right, welcome. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize, Morning Vibes. It's a Friday morning. It's the last day of February 2025. And I'm Nuri Mohammed for our show this morning, and we welcome you. We have guests coming in, but before we do that, we give you a look at the weather. We bring you up to date from our newsroom. And I think we can open the phone lines for the first few minutes this morning before we get our guests in. Remember, as we promised yesterday, today is a giveaway. The Muslim community, in commemorating the Ramadan that starts tomorrow, will be giving away some food bags on our show this morning. So stay tuned. We go now to Miss Francisca Wellington for our update on the weather.
Good morning. Generally fair weather prevails and will support sunny skies with clouds tonight. Showers will be isolated. A similar trend will continue on Saturday and Saturday night. Winds today will blow from the east and northeast at 5 to 15 knots, and seas will be light chop. High tides will occur at 10:26 this morning and 10:40 tonight. Low tides follow at 4:28 this evening and 5:06 tomorrow morning. Temperatures this afternoon: mountains 85 along the coast and 88 inland. The moon will rise at 6:40 this morning and the sun will set at 5:58 this evening. In the sargassum forecast, sargassum continue to gradually increase over the area, with moderate impacts expected along coastal municipalities during the next few days. That's the latest from the Belize Weather Bureau. Do have a pleasant day.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989 presents the news Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
The discovery of a missing man's body showing signs of torture has left many in Corozal on edge and others around the country with an ominous feeling. The body, which was not yet showing signs of decomposition, was discovered on Thursday morning around 6 near the entrance of San Antonio Rio Hondo Orange Walk. It has been identified as 29-year-old Rahim Usher. Reports are that the body was found handcuffed, wrapped in a white sheet and in a black plastic bag. The body was near the side of the road and close to the bridge at the entrance of the village. The body was also observed with what appears to be 2 gunshot wounds to the head. Reports are that there had been unusual activity around 3 a.m. Usher, who is originally from Libertad, Corozal, was reported missing on January 25th. On the white sheet that was found with the body, police observed a handwritten message that reads, quote, this is going to happen to those Chapulinos who continue to bring down planes with drugs, end of quote. Some names were also listed, including that of a corporal who is Usher's relative. Yesterday, the Northern Regional Commander, Senior Superintendent Christopher Noble, shared additional information with the media. With regards to the name, Noble said that the matter is being investigated and said that special protection to any of those named would be granted should it be necessary.
The police did go to a scene. The scene was processed. We received the services of a doctor on scene, and after identification, the body was removed and taken to the forensic lab, awaiting a post-mortem, and the doctor will give his expert opinion whenever that is done.
Do the police have any information on whether or not Mr. Usher had received any kind of threat or intimidation from anyone prior to his disappearance?
None that we know of, and none that is recorded. Whatever message, it's a part of our investigation, which started on or around the 25th of January, and it is continuing now with this new information. We are going at what we're supposed to be doing as in with the investigators. As we now have a body, we have, as you say, a message to somebody, because that's none to me. And we move forward with our investigation.
But one of the officers named in that message is a relative of the deceased, and it's saying that these things will happen to an end like this will befall these people because they're involved in plane landing.
In that case, I'll say that police officers are to protect life and property, but I don't know that training is done and had for plane landings. Names can be, I mean, there's multiple Christopher Nobles if you go on Google, and to verify, you would have to do identity and all of this. It's a part of our investigation.
The appeal of the dismissal of the application by Jeremy Enriquez et al. To stop the March 12th general elections is set for case management hearing on Monday. The hearing will be held virtually. The application has been submitted for urgent appeal, but it is left to be seen if the matter will be concluded before the actual date of the general elections, which is just now 11 days away. The respondent in the case is the Attorney General, while the Elections and Boundaries Commission appears as interested party. Yesterday, AG Anthony Sylvester Jr. spoke about the case management conference.
Usually what takes place in a case management conference hearing before the Court of Appeal, the court makes a determination as it relates to whether all the documents, which were before the High Court, whether those are ready to be prepared and bundled into what is referred to as a record of appeal. The court also gives the parties the opportunity to make different applications. I think they've made an application for expedited hearing. The government will be given an opportunity to make any application if it's so deems that is necessary. I haven't had an opportunity to review the application that they've made as well, but certainly there is the ability and the right of the government to make its counter application to the court as it relates to whether the circumstances are such, whether the court can even hear or has jurisdiction to hear this particular application for expedited hearing. And I say that because ordinarily the rules require before they hear an appeal, the settling of records, the record of appeal being completed, the matter being set down. So I imagine the appellant in this matter would be asking the court to basically expedite those processes and abridge the time for doing all of that, So we'll see, So
there's a possibility there can be enough time for it to be heard?
I'm not quite sure. The third, I'm not quite sure, but the court, I'm sure the court will deal with the matter in an impartial and a fair way and see to meet the ends of justice.
In our newscast on Wednesday, we shared that the Minister of Education, Francis Fonseca, has agreed with Yaya Maureen Coleman, the chairperson of the UBAD Educational Foundation, that there should be a national hair policy for schools. Maureen Coleman has been offering to work with the ministry to develop such a policy, and the minister stated, quote, "We can work together to address after the election," end of quote. To ensure it is not merely an election promise and there is actual follow through, Maureen Coleman has written a letter to the Minister of Education, but also to the Minister of Labor as the call is being expanded for any legislation or policy to apply not only to schools but also to the workplace. We spoke with Maureen Coleman about the developments.
Tuesday, a number of people sent me, 3 actually, one report me up on Facebook about a child experiencing hair discrimination in a private school at Belmopan, and up on Facebook, so they sent it to me. So that Tuesday, I send that text, I send a screenshot what I share with me to the Minister of, they have other portfolios, but I look upon specifically Minister of Education and Culture, Francis Fonseca, which I do from time to time. Like when XTV would have covered the protest, I would have sent it to her. And sometimes they answer back. And so I sent it to her and I tell her, at a paraphrase, that Belize need one national hair policy now, and the injustice what happened to Belizean students need to stop. Imagine my absolute shock when within, I'll say, an hour and a half time, it takes back and he say, he agree with me. And that after the election, we could meet and talk about it. And in the text where I sent to her, I said that UEF willing to work with the Ministry of Education for formulate the natural hair law. And so I said to him when he texted to me that this is our historic moment. I will stay in communication with you and I will send you an email. So today we're drafting that email that will be sent to the Minister Francis Fonseca, the Minister of Education and Culture. The researcher write the email, I say, in both those cases with the police officers and the employee at the Belmopan City Council, this time within one employment framework, whereas you have been advocate within one students framework. And I'm like, we need to deal with the matter, similar to what Puerto Rico do. Instead of just looking at a changing, creating a hair policy, we need to have one natural hair law. We want to protect Belizean people as employees and students. And I think the Minister of Culture and Education is well positioned for that conversation. So you have the hold on accountable is after election, which is Wednesday, March 12th, that a team, because I'm not going to meetings by myself, it's never recommended to do that, to meet with the minister. We will have a draft national hair law at that time. And then we keep the Belizean people abreast on what happened.
Maureen Coleman has been holding a solo protest to advocate for the policy since last year in front of the Belize District Education Center on Wednesdays, but has been applying for a protest permit to move her demonstration to the ministry's office on North Front Street on Tuesdays, which is a cruise ship day. She believes that internationalizing the cause would bring more pressure. However, she has been having difficulties acquiring that permit.
For getting one permit, you have to write into the Belize Police Department, care for people to sign off on it. It wasn't an issue in the past, and I've done and led a number of protests in Belize. And by the way, they sent for me to Antigua and Barbuda last year just for protests. Anyways, so I applied for a protest permit in early January. I didn't get a response back. And then a couple days later, I sent a revised one telling them I want to change the day from protesting on Wednesdays to protesting on Tuesdays, and I had to change the location from the Belize District Education Center to the Ministry of Education headquarters on North Front Street. It was strategic on UEF's part because we know that 10 for B1 day when tourists in, we want to bring international attention to this injustice. Up to today, I don't get one written response back yet on that protest permit. When I called the officer who in charge, he said that he have to get permission from Belmopan. I said, since when you need permission from Belmopan to give one protest permit? He said, I just tell you what have to happen. The concern is that you want protest at a time when tourists pass. I'm like, so what? As I'm Belizean, I have one right for protest. He said, when I got no back and forth. And then I think it was earlier this week, I called and I said, call him back in 5 minutes. I call him back longer than 5 minutes. And from there, he stopped answering his phone. The secretary no longer answers his phone either. So that's where we are with that.
Attorney Michelle Trapp, writing under the cover of the Justice for Humans project, is advocating for an existing law, which has never been applied, to be enforced for the upcoming general elections. They are asking that the chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission, EBC, for prisoners who are eligible to vote under the law to be allowed to exercise that right. Those would be inmates who are only on remand or those whose sentence is not more than 12 months. Trapp is the managing member of the project, and their aim is for people who have equal protection of the law, to have equal protection of the law. In her letter, she indicates that they had written about the matter on July 9th, 2024. Yesterday, the Attorney General, Anthony Sylvester Jr., told us that when they receive the letter, they will advise the Elections and Boundaries Commission accordingly.
I checked with the Chief Elections Officer and I checked at my office, but we haven't received any specific correspondence as yet. I don't know if this is some previous correspondence have been sent, but I read the not the document, the social media post, and the impression it gave is that some letter was sent yesterday or recently, but as far as our office is concerned, we haven't received any such document recently.
But if you were to receive one, and the Elections and Boundaries Commission and Department,
they would have to. Well, I'm not saying that. They would clearly have to review it. They would send it to our office and we'd review, and they would seek our advice on the matter.
this is the first time that something like this is being raised, though.
Yes, to my knowledge, but what I should point out, though, is that before someone could even entertain the prospects of voting, they have to be on the voters.
Trapp expresses the hope that the rights of these inmates are not violated on the 12th of March. And that's our news package for this morning, the last day of February 2025. There's more news and update comes up at 12 and 1 at 3 on Creme Radio. There's also a full news broadcast on Creme Radio at 5:15. On XTV, we bring you the entire news at 6 o'clock this evening. It's now 8 minutes to 7 o'clock. We'll take a short break, come back, and we'll open our phone lines and begin our conversation for this Friday morning.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news.
welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. It's now 7 o'clock in the studio here on Amandala Drive, no longer Partridge Street. We welcome you to the program this morning. Let me give you the phone number at 280-5848. We do have a guest coming in a little bit later on with a giveaway, but for right now we have the phone lines open, and any topic that you would like to bring up, elections or otherwise, you are free to weigh in. What I wanted to bring up on my first list here is that item that was in our newscast this morning with attorney Michelle Trapp and her group of Justice for Human Project. This is a group, Dickie Bradley and some other attorneys are working diligently to ensure that justice is done in the country, and that we're not just merely, going through motions, but in reality have a lot of things that are not in accordance with the law. And we are a country of laws. We say that that is the basis on which we live here in Belize, is that each of us have a right to go to court to ensure that our rights are being protected. That's not always the case, as I have pointed out in my own opinion, that really deals with people who are wealthy, people who are able to afford attorney and fight for their rights. But if you don't want ordinary person, you're subjected to the law. Clearly, you can be taken in front of the law, and when you're taken in front of the court, they must go through the procedures of making sure that you get your rights. But that's not the only right that you're allowed. There are many other rights that you're allowed, that if it is infringed upon in any way, you are able to go to court and bring the court's attention to the infringement of your rights and get that corrected. But only people who are able to afford attorneys and afford that process, which many times take months, if not years, to correct what needs to be corrected. Hence, in a case like this, in a system like this, it is primarily those who have wealth that are able to guarantee that their rights are there. And we see a perfect example of our brother Jerry Enriquez, who had courageously, as has others, gone and challenged the court, challenged the government in court. But that challenge requires finance. And they are now in a situation where, in order for them to just continue to proceed, they need to rely on good-natured persons who have the wealth and are able to help them to fight that case. So I'm just giving an example that yes, we are a country of laws. Yes, we have the right to protect ourselves against those who are violating our rights. But it takes finance to be able to ensure that your rights are fully guaranteed in the system that we have here. And poor people are not always able to do that. I want to again say that what Michelle Trapp and this group, Justice for Human Project, is doing is something that is, in my opinion, and Carla, if you could just give us a minute to complete this thought and we'll get to the calls. So they are saying to the government that persons who are involved in prison, who are incarcerated in prison, and are still in the remand section, meaning that they are not serving 10, 15, 20 years, but they're in remand waiting for their trial, which means they are not convicted persons. They are in remand waiting to go to court so that they can be convicted if found guilty. They are saying that those persons have a right to go and vote. Now, the Attorney General clearly is saying what makes sense is that you have to be registered to vote, etc., and that process may not be able to be fulfilled by the 12th. But it's a conversation that needs to take place. All right. Our number here, 280-5848. Please, caller. No disrespect meant, but I wanted to make sure that I make that point. So what that brings up is this idea again of do you have any rights when you go to jail? Welcome, caller.
Good morning, Nuri. Just Sandra Poy. I don't know if you're aware that yesterday the United States of Mexico extradited 29 major figures in their drug cartels to the United States.
No, I didn't.
It happened yesterday. And immediately that process began. The Mexican security structure met with Mr. Rubio in Washington, in the States. The figures are major, but they were already incarcerated in Mexico. And it takes place within the framework of the implementation of the tariffs. The Mexicans are evaluating it that way, and I say it's a correct evaluation. The tariffs were to go into effect on the 2nd of April, and yesterday Mr. Trump arbitrarily changed it to the 4th of March. So the implementation will now be the 4th of March. And Mexico is in a turmoil. The Mexican stock exchange, the Mexican peso has fallen. It's devaluing. Because they don't know what is going to be tariffed. And you know why I'm bringing this up, Nuri? To us, 40 years, 50 years, it's long. In the context of a world that is 5 billion years old, that is a drop in the ocean, right?
Absolutely.
Of time.
Yep.
So, it was in 1981 that we first went, between 81 and 82, that as a member of the chamber, the executive of the Chamber of Commerce, we went to meet with Mr. Price at the request of the business community of Orange Walk about the proliferation of U.S. currency and the non-distribution of Belizean currency, except when BSI carried out its payments at particular points in the month. And I have never forgotten the dismissive, cavalier, disdainful way Mr. Price dealt with that matter. That is 40 years, more than 40 years, 45 years ago, thereabouts, 45 years ago.
43 years ago.
And we are paying the price now. Because what happened is the Mexican government, with all their bluster, actually presented sacrificial lambs to the United States. Isn't that what they did?
Well, those guys are already convicted if you're saying that they're taking the prisoners, yeah. But they have out these warrants. As you know, they have warrants internationally for persons. And some people have just refused to take individuals out of their prisons and send them to the United States. For Mexico to do that, that's unprecedented. That's a new move.
It's unprecedented.
Yeah.
And this is the point I'm making, that the criminal class was caused by the society and has been promoted by the society throughout the Latin American region. It has been, and the Caribbean region. It was caused by a society built on injustice, the injustice of colonization, slavery, and all of that. And then, when the ruling class saw an opportunity for making another buck off the criminal class, they had no problem with it and sailed merrily along. And the boys who make up the criminal class never really understood that they are expendable, extremely expendable. Because the problem of drugs in the United States, yes, there are suppliers. That's no question. because the Americans are such a drug-committed society. You know, I always tell people, I've never seen people swallow down pills the way Americans swallow down pills.
And alcohol.
Everything that seems to me to have. They are very committed to the chemical solution to problems, just as they are committed to the mechanical, how they gonna shoot and kill. They are committed to the chemical. And the chemical doesn't make it better, it's making it worse. And that chemical devotion has laid the groundwork for all their addictions, because they are a highly addicted society. But they don't ever look at all people at the top of the ladder. They never look for themselves, for the cause. They are going to look everywhere else but to themselves.
Let me ask you this, Sister Sandra, and using your experience. Do you believe then, based on what you've just said, that the American attempt at prohibition, which is over 100 years old, was a complete failure for them to have gone back to then allowing such a wide use of narcotics, because alcohol is a narcotic, in their society?
Well,
you understand what I'm asking?
Society, when you build a society on slave labor, all societies, it doesn't matter. You only have to go to Russia to understand the role alcohol played in managing Russian society, right? So alcoholism is very high in Russia. Gorbachev tried to fight it. He himself didn't drink at all. But the management of a society with brutality has prevailed in the slave societies of the Americas, has prevailed in the imperial slave serf society of Russia. It doesn't matter where you go. The human being can only cope with so much. And so virtually all those societies look for a method, and it's generally chemical, to manage their societies. And the slave society was managed with alcohol. That they were managed. And the enslavers also had to deal with their own aversions and pain with a chemical. So until America or Belize or the Caribbean or Latin America confronts the reality of the societies they have built and live in, then they will always be looking for a handle to cope, because it's a coping mechanism.
Yes.
We, throughout this, for example, the slave world, they were prepared to allocate a portion of the rum production for slave management. They did that.
Yes.
You see? And then America was able, like the British of the colonial world, to latch on to commodities. Let's take tobacco. The Native Americans didn't use tobacco the way Europe and America and everybody else came to use it, Nuri. But when you have the ability to produce something at the industrial levels that they have been able to produce sugar, tobacco, coffee, evidently you're likely to end up with everybody being addicted to the substance.
You need customers, so clearly.
Look at coffee. I like the smell of coffee, I don't drink it. But I'm fascinated by the velocity, the amount of coffee that Americans and now everybody else, Belizeans and Caribbean and Latin is following topic. Like you can't speak going out of time. Right? But you're laying the groundwork for an addiction, man. That's what you're doing. We all have the potential to be addicts, all of us.
Yeah.
But you have to recognize that. Take Islam. Islam prohibits the use of alcohol. Is that right or wrong?
Absolutely.
Yes. So it is recognized in the writings on the military activities of the medieval world. This is written, but long before I read it written, I had arrived at this conclusion that one of the strengths of the Islamic army in confronting the European Western armies was the Western armies were generally drunk.
Yeah.
And the Islamic armies were drunk. They were drunk with God, you know. And so they were far more organized, methodical, and presented a great
It was a force.
for the Europeans.
Yes.
The Europeans didn't know what to do with that. You know? So, but I'm just commenting that this thing in Mexico has implications for Belize. Do you agree with that or not?
Yes, I agree with you. I haven't read it. I will read it. But yes, from what you've said, that's very serious because that's almost imploding in a sense on Mexico's side because she was so strong the first few days and now
you see, it appears strong.
Yeah.
And they want to be strong, you know, Nuri. They want to be.
Yeah.
People want
Well, it makes you wonder.
every day of your life.
Yeah. It makes you wonder because our foreign minister as well as our prime minister so far has been very strong. But nothing has really come to our doorstep here in Belize. We are just getting ideas that we may be getting deportees, we may be getting other, requests to have individual pass through.
Yeah. The Cuban doctor problem.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, that too that you brought up yesterday. The point I'm making is that the pressure
to the young men in this country, when the time comes to sacrifice you, the ruling class won't waste any time. They deliver you on a platter. So you need to make up your mind now whether you want to become sacrificial lamb. I have somebody close to me worrying that her relatives may be extradited to expelled to Salvador. He speaks no English, Spanish, he's black, he's never lived in that world at all. But he may be pushed out of the American prison system there. And you see what's worrisome, Nuri? As I tell you, America likes to solve its problems from the outside, not from the inside. And it is that exterior solution that's going to create more problems. We only have to look at what has happened in Iraq, Afghanistan, all of Latin America, you know. And this problem of drug usage is an internal American problem that has everything to do with the kind of society that America is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And imagine in New York, 3 young people died at different points in the state. They didn't know each other, but they had a common factor denominator. It was the person who delivered the drug. And all 3, one was a social worker, one was a lawyer, and I forget what was the third person. I think he was in finance.
Yeah.
All died.
Yeah.
And we have a situation right here in Belize with the 3 deaths at San Pedro.
Right.
You see?
That's right.
So and they are linking it with China. So they are looking for goods everywhere.
Yeah.
And Mexico is being hauled into it. And because the Mexican state went along with the illegal trafficking, they went along with it, Nuri. Let's get real. Just like our leadership and Latin America, we have gone along with having a migrant population. We keep We have allowed the development of a poverty-stricken, needy population whose only solution is a resort to migration. And then we sit and watch our people being handled like a lower level of cattle or whatever, and then we are appalled and by, but our leadership created that. We have a bright people in this country, as in the region. Man, if we had leadership that believed and loved and treasured their people, where would we go, Nuri? Yeah. Not one of the leaders offering themselves for election in, when is it March? Not one of them has love for our people, not one of them. So they have turned our people into a dependent, hands-out, beggar nation of people, and then when they go and ask for us on our behalf, they also become beggars. You know, it's just a terrible syndrome. Yet we have a bright population, bright people, who if you were to promote discipline among them, and where wouldn't they go? Where wouldn't we go as a people?
Absolutely.
You see? So Mexico, they're between a rock and a hard place now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because while those leaders were resident in Mexico, things were all right. Mm-hmm. Now you let them loose into the hands of the opponents of their followers.
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to deal with? You think that will settle the situation? Just like that? I don't think so. Anyway, I called to share that.
Thank you.
I haven't found it. I only found a minor reference so far in the European media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will later on in the day listen to check what the different media in Germany, France, so okay. However, the Mexican media is covering it. They are covering it. Not I.
All right, thank you very much, Sister Sandra. I will be checking that out a little bit later on. If you missed what she said, the Mexican government has released some incarcerated persons who are supposed to be a part of the cartel to the U.S. government who have warrants out for these individuals. That is unprecedented. You don't normally take people out of your prison and send them somewhere else. And it's a bigger picture, and thank you very much, Sandra, for laying out the broader implications of this. Because in fact, and it takes me back to what was going on maybe 25, 30 years ago in Peru and in Colombia, and looking at the evolution of the Medellin and the cartels in Colombia, and how they actually started out as people who were trying to deal with their difficult economic situation. The government were not able to get services to people, and so the cartels then started to become the means by which the people were able to meet their daily needs. And so Escobar and these other persons became heroes among their people. They became like a Robin Hood, because where they could not, the people could not get these things from the authorities, they depended on the cartel to be able to provide that, which brought them up. As Sandra was saying, you sort of legitimize them in the process. They were brought up from gangsterism to heroes because they were serving a need for the ordinary people. Now, if you go into Colombian history and Peruvian history, you'll find that many of those who were fighting against the Peruvian government, Fujimori, back 30 years ago, these were revolutionaries in the jungle. And they were selling drugs in order to buy weapons in order to fight the Peruvian government and the Colombian government. And so if we, as Sandra is saying, if we don't get information on the big picture and we only look at these narrow news reports that come to us and we cannot put them into a context, then we lose the bigger picture of what is going on in our world today. So the governments of the United States in fighting this thing called the war on drugs, created an entire department out of their Homeland Security and out of their FDI department to go after drugs. And they created several layers of operation. One at the top was a military operation. Again, it was a police operation. And then there was the training of local police operation throughout Latin America and the Caribbean so that they can become proxies of the United States. And I say proxies because it was the United States FBI and Marines in some cases, and even when they brought in the Israelis to do training for these, what they considered insurgency groups. And so what you had was a development of a militarization of the police departments throughout. That's why when you look at the police in Jamaica, etc., they all have on the same green fatigue, like for we people, yeah. How all of a sudden all of us got the same green fatigue? Welcome, caller.
Just back again, that point you're making is excellent, and you might want to review with your listeners where the American government actually became involved in distributing drugs.
Indeed.
Cocaine via the CIA in order to fund the Contra
in Nicaragua
program. You might want to talk about that. And another program is the production of synthetic drugs.
Yes.
By the U.S. government, such as LSD.
Exactly.
You see?
Yeah.
And that LSD is linked to the German production, going back into the pre-Second World War period. So it is a highly complex situation.
Yeah.
Not as simple. You see, Nuri, I don't think the problem will be corrected. If we run it,
no.
It will be like when you cut up an earthworm, each little piece can become another earthworm. It's just going to proliferate because you haven't dealt with the real cause of the problem.
Yeah.
This is my opinion.
No, thank you very much, Sandra. That analogy of the earthworm is a perfect analogy, because I remember when I was small, that used to amaze me. I could figure out how I cut off this piece, and all of them they wiggle. So that's a perfect analogy of what we're dealing with here. It's as if each piece of that worm, each piece of this problem has its own intelligence factor. And so while you think that you'd cut it off or you'd cut it up, each of it has its own self-perpetuating life form. And so it continues to grow. And yesterday here in the studio, we were talking about these drugs. You're not gonna get fentanyl on George Street. You can get cocaine, but even there, it mixed with a lot of powder. If you want to get the highest level of drugs, similar to what you would get in the United States, you got to go at the place where the market is higher. And the market is not higher in a Lekai, Gongolong, higher in a George Street, higher in a police street, higher in those areas where big money is circulating. So you don't find fentanyl and somebody where want fentanyl, they go to George Street to ask, you know anybody around here who sell fentanyl? It's a level of drugs that is at a much higher level. They kill off Americans like crazy. It's killing off Americans like crazy, and you need to use these instruments to Google and find out why fentanyl kill people like that. What is it about that? Well, one of the things that if you research it, you will find out that it is not a clearly manufactured drug that comes under the discipline of what you would call a Bureau of Standard. When you go to the drugstore and you buy a Pfizer or one of these other drugs with the drug name, the assumption is they went through a certain standard. If they say on the label that such and such is such, it is that. You don't get that when you go forget fentanyl and anything there. When you would get cocaine or when you would get heroin or you get them thing there off of the street, you don't know who cut it and how he cut. And so therefore, you may find that your thing has been spiked with too much of something. And so the minute you touch where you touch, you're gone, and you can't figure out, well, how he dropped down like that? Because the thing where he take, we got more away in me thinking he get, but he got more than that in it. If you have not experienced drug overdose, and I have seen it in my other life, I guess you would say, it's not an easy thing to deal with when you're looking at people who are suffering an OD. And we are not used to that kind of thing. You don't OD pan weed, you don't dead pan weed. As somebody told me the other day, one bale of weed have a drop on your head for you dead for weed. That's what we've been dealing with, and alcohol debilitates us until we end up on the street. But these drugs, like that, you're gone. So it's a new world, Belize. It's 31 minutes now after 7 o'clock. We'll take this break for 2 cents can with Brick City, and this is brought to you by Food Point Security.
Watching WB, and this is XTV. I gotta say big respect to 4 Point Security. It's Big Up Friday. Let's go find all the people in 2 cents and they get their big up.
Well, I say big up the whole world and big up everybody in it and hold a clean heart and good meditation. Call the fire stay hot.
Don't Big Up Friday. Who you want big up?
Who I want big up? Big up everybody themselves.
Don't say. Big Up Friday.
Big up UP.
Don't say.
Yes, because I don't do any wrong things. I do the wrong things and I run out of things.
Don't say. Big Up Friday.
We big up Curdell every time and anytime. We will run back and late.
Big up Friday. Who you big up? Big up somebody.
I big up UP if I know.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes on the last day of February 2025. Imagine that. The time is moving and it's moving fast. You know, the whole saying is that when you know they do nothing, time to move slow. But when you're very, very busy, you look on the clock, you're amazed that it's moving as fast as it is. So it's a kind of a illusion that we're dealing with, because the sun not to move faster and the moon not to move faster. As a matter of fact, we as Muslims calculate this month of Ramadan on the basis of the moon. And the moon will be shown tonight, which means that we begin our fast tomorrow. And the moon will show itself as a crescent in the western sky. And this is a phenomenon that maybe you young up-and-coming scientists should look at, is that when the moon is in its crescent, being born as we call it, it's in the western sky. But when the moon is completely full and is rising as a full moon, it rises in the eastern sky. And it is not that there's two different moons. It's just that the moon is a growing thing in our phenomena of the moon. And I say in our phenomena because the moon not grow, it's the same body out there, but it's the direction in which the light of the sun off the earth hits the moon. It only hits the crescent of the moon. And as it moves through its 28 days of life, it begins to move from just that small crescent. By the 14th day, it's at a full moon, and then it goes from the 14 days of that full moon back to a crescent, so that eventually, when the moon is just about to die, it's back at a crescent, but it's not in the western sky, it's in the eastern sky. So this is something that we look at and we learn and we grow. But before we get to our next break, I want to finish what I was saying about the effort of attorney Michelle Trapp. What they are saying is that according to the law, an inmate, a person who is incarcerated, that means they in a police and administrative lockdown because he's waiting for his trial. That section of the prison is called the remand section of the prison. You have to wait for trial. Now really, if you are working in an efficient system, within a month you should be in front of the court. But unfortunately, because of our backlog, we have some people in the prison who are in remand for as much as 3 or 4 years. Welcome, caller.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
Yeah, brother, Nuri, good morning.
Yes, man, welcome.
Some people have been man up to 5, 6 years.
I did try to tell you, it's serious, my brother, it's serious. And you know there's a lawsuit there, but it has not been pursued. There's a lawsuit there on the basis of cruel, unusual punishment and torture. You cannot keep a person incarcerated without them being found guilty, or else you're punishing the person for a crime that he has not yet been found guilty of, man. So that was a serious situation, my brother. Anyway, sorry for taking it.
Why the lion not pursue the challenge?
Yeah, well, you know, we have said it many times on this show that we don't have a lot of pro bono human rights type lawyers in Belize. This is unfortunate. One of them is now our Attorney General, Anthony Sylvester, who has had a number of cases that he has challenged for inmate rights that he did not get paid for. And so when he became the Attorney General, my heart was pleased, because I said, you now have a person in that capacity who not only has the wherewithal in terms of his understanding of the law, but he's also a person who has a heart for these individuals. Unfortunately, a lot of our attorneys are so much into the glitter of that lifestyle that they don't got time to think about people at the lower ranks. And so, you know, and those persons, they have their rights. It's not that when you are an inmate that all of your rights are automatically thrown away. This is not the case. As a matter of fact, my brother, if you don't mind me just mentioning to you that, or use the occasion of your call to say that in the United States, for example, they are saying that an individual has the right to vote, but it is not a constitutional right. It is rather a privilege. And so therefore, the particular individual state can make a decision as to whether or not that person would be allowed to vote.
I have mentioned Mr. Sylvester name, but I have the king bring up this issue. You don't mistake. I hear with this issue.
Right.
Another riots too with this issue. I mean, it's a concern.
Yes.
I mean, they don't say holy for years, they don't just, you know, and eventually they let you go. They don't let you go afterwards.
Yeah.
They're there for years. But you are kind of this hardship and all, you know, the jail for jail, I don't know where you go. You know, vacation.
It's not a hotel. It's not a Ramada hotel. Yeah, exactly.
Another situation we will want to touch on this one.
Yeah.
Is people in the media, our reporters are persons who rely on their accountability and to bring it to us, especially elected officials, police officers, everybody in a position. So when it comes to the media and keeping our democracy alive, it's a very important part. And many of the times people in the media are treated unfairly, either by politicians, police officers. They go out there and they fill in, they don't interfere with no evidence, like nothing. But then the policeman, they want to take away their camera, and you can't take this, you can't take that. I understand. You can't broadcast things that, you know, that is not true. Because many a times people go far to the broadcasting before they get the official, right? But even when you get the official, the evidence where you have as a media personnel could say, no man, not no go so because look at the evidence where I take. So you keep them in check.
Yeah.
So the policeman, when they try to take the people from the media, cameras and different things, it's an injustice to us.
Yes, yes.
As a society. Because then that is one of the check and balance
Yes.
for us,
Absolutely.
the people of this country.
Yes.
So I wish that the policeman, all the politicians and they could use that as a check and balance instead of the very ignorant way. Sometimes the way they handle media personnel, really ignorant. And disgraceful when they tell you you're media personnel. Because when people have legitimate questions,
Yes.
I don't know that they are in there.
But Carla,
I have to give answers.
let me give you an interesting scenario. You may not know this because it's a back page in the news in the United States. But one of the most authentic and reliable news source is called the Associated Press. They're like Reuters and BBC and these others. The Associated Press. I don't know if you're aware of this. But Mr. Trump has banned the Associated Press from entering any of his news conferences to ask questions, which means that all those readers and people who depend on the source of news from that Associated Press cannot get that. Now, what they're doing, Associated Press, is they're suing the White House. So they're taking it through their legal process. But you cannot, as you are saying, you can't block the Fourth Estate, which is dependent on information, reliable information getting to people. You can't block that and think you have that right constitutionally. You can't do that. That's like depriving a person their right of speech, which is what Associated Press is in terms of the law. It's a person. You cannot deprive that person of their right to speak. And that's what he's doing. So what you're saying on the local level is that I could remember in the previous administration, there were certain ministers of government that would make the statement to the media houses, this one being one of them, that we know to come to your media house. What do you mean you're not coming to the media house? Maybe because they're afraid of the personality behind the desk or whatever the case might be, but you as a leader, as a politician, you don't have the right to deny the media the right to get information because the media represents the people. You see? Now another talk about smut and another talk about gutter media and we just want to get up there for but legitimate media, we have legitimate media in Belize.
Registered media house. We have people who are registered media outlets we talk about.
Yes.
And you bring up a case just now about the previous administration. And I noticed since this administration, I could count from a hand about 5 minutes away when they come to our prep or XTV. Before the election, they made it pour in.
Yeah.
They made it pour in and usually the car if they're not. I could put my one hand.
My brother, I could show you my text of the amount of ministers that I have already asked to come on this show. Excuse after excuse after excuse. Before election, they were here. But since election, they're so busy. The only time they're not busy is a time of crisis where they're responding. But to be proactive and to say, well, yeah, these are our plans and this is what we're going to do and how we're going, well, real difficult thing here on this station. Maybe other stations is different, but here there's a similar reluctance.
And even when it comes to advertisement, and I never talk about a political media house. I talk about legitimate media house.
Yes.
You notice the commercial, some of the media house get many commercial and I put it up there for the
Why, no, bring up that subject there. Don't bring up that subject.
I don't want to where people understand.
Yeah.
I talk the truth.
Yeah.
And you find out like you watch like crime, you hardly see any, they get any advertisement.
And you remember in the old days, the dirty water they tried to throw on criminals that, oh, it's a PUP station. Yeah, PUP station, yeah. So what's going on now over the last 4 years if this is a PUP station?
Maybe it'll become a UDP station.
It's just small-minded people in those positions there that don't recognize that there's a sacred responsibility that the media has. And I know personality, me not like this one or me not like that. This is a sacred responsibility and you got to deal with that, you know? So anyway, my brother.
I tell you, the media, and thanks to Jules and the senior person on her show, the young lady.
Yes, Marisol.
Thanks to that person, they bring it across to the people.
Indeed,
and really the people investigate and dig up into the politician's mind.
One of the best.
They have same question and the fumble and the bumble, all kind of thing.
That's right.
Now you hardly have that. I see some other younger one, they come up now and they pick up the mantle.
Oh, yeah.
But Jules and that sister, they play with them.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I know like Jules, they hate the brother. And everything comes to us because it's legitimate.
Yeah.
You go to other people and try hide it because they attach to banner the next one is the political party, so we don't want to bring that to make the party look bad. But Jules don't worry himself. Jules will tell her like it is. And even when the UDP made the United States, Jews come down so hard, I believe Jews help them God. And we have to give the people in the media their props.
Yes.
And we have to pick them up. And we have to pray for their safety because they tell you, things really get out of hand and a lot of things when it come out, we would have never known, Nuri.
Yeah.
If they're not due to the media.
Do you know?
People that bring information, can even people that bring information have to watch who they give it to them. You can't go give that to anybody. Because you know, reach up and your life might be in danger. This is the way this country is right now, it's rough.
You know, Kawa,
you have to say for what it is, sir.
You know that one of the most dangerous professions over the last 5 years have been journalists. Journalists have been killed in Mexico. Journalists have been killed in the Gaza. Journalists have been killed in different parts of Latin America because of their exposure of some of the corruption that's going on. So this job as a journalist that is not afraid to ask the hard question is a very dangerous profession nowadays. I gotta go though, bro.
We have to bring out some laws and some to protect our journalists. Because I tell you, these brothers and sisters, they are really the ones who keep us abreast of what is happening in this country. How many things under the table?
Well, that's not hard, you know. We were able to bring up laws to say that if you assault a police, if you assault different individuals in the society, and it was named in these laws, you could also put in there that any assault or any anything that you do that because assault is not only physical, anything you do to assault somebody in the media is a charge. It can be done. It can be done.
That's the law where you mention. That is just a hit. That is just for thing to the politicians protect themselves. Because when you mention about the police and the traffic officers and all of them, it come in behind that the politicians. So they bring it in to protect themselves.
Yeah, the media. Yeah.
Are we going right? I could tell one politician something. If I don't like something, I could tell you. As long as I know they're not pure enough, I could tell you straight up my mind where I don't like. Well, I could tell you. So we have to charge me because I tell you, boss, we don't like to build. If you have the chance, the people of this country under the hustle and all know the benefit, and then so they could carry the approach to that. The truth is speak the truth. See? So we have to be careful in this country, the way we are headed. We really have to be careful, brother, and we've got a serious thing happening in this country. And we have to be abreast. And that we might open our focus. Because like I tell you, external forces are going to play in this country directly.
All right, my brother. Good.
Serious external forces. So you take care, brother.
You too, brother. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, it's 2 minutes after 8 o'clock. We'll take a short break and come back. And we do have our guests already here in the studio.
revised.
Welcome back. This is WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes, and as promised, we would be having a discussion this morning on Ramadan. Ramadan begins tomorrow. The entire Muslim world will be fasting for 30 days. In some cases it's 29 days, but that fast begins tomorrow. And as we normally do, around this time, we bring a representative from the Muslim community to come forward and to explain for those who would want to know, because they've heard, but they don't know, they want to know. And then there are those who know, but just need a little refresher course to ensure that they are doing it the way it should be done. And on that basis, we've decided to invite the Imam of the Muslim community on Farbers Road, Brother Khalim El Amin, who is with us in studio. Let me say welcome, first of all, brother.
Yes, welcome, Brad.
Welcome.
No problem.
Welcome.
Yeah.
And then, as we said yesterday, we will be giving away some food bags based on some questions that we're going to ask, and then you can come and you can pick up your food bag. But let's welcome you first of all. Welcome, brother.
Yes, glad to be here, Brother Nuri. We normally have a little protocol. We say Bismillah. We do a lot of things just by mentioning God's name, and then we feel whatever we do after that is a blessed thing. So coming here, it's been, you would almost say, expected that somebody comes yearly to remind. And this is one of the theme in the Muslim religion, is that men who came as prophets and messengers just came to remind people of things, you know. They were just reminders. So it is that human being from the Islamic perspective, from Adam, knew the things them about God, but as time go, 5,000, 1,000, 50, we don't know, millions of years, of course we forget, because even in our lifetime, we live 20 years, we forget, much less if you talk 600 years.
Yes.
Between prophets, or 1,000 years, people will forget things.
Of course.
So people come and they come back as reminder. So this is how the prophets of God is projected in the Quran, that then are people who come to remind you something where you might have forgotten.
Yes, you don't know it already.
You don't know it already.
So old people tell you, make your conscience be your guide, because you know your conscience will tell you this thing not correct. Indeed,
Exactly.
indeed. Well, let's get right to what starts tomorrow, and that is Ramadan. What is Ramadan?
Ramadan, Muslims have a lunar calendar, and every 9th month in this calendar, that month is called Ramadan. And it's called a Hijra calendar. and it is 10 days less from what is called a Gregorian calendar. So Ramadan creeps up on people every year by 10 days, because some people have said, well, how Ramadan they come this time of the year? Can you never come like that last year?
Yeah.
So every year it's 10 days earlier. So it is the 9th month in the Islamic calendar. And Arabs have a lot of traditions about it, that it was, you know, a warm month or this, but Ramadan goes around all seasons of the year. It can come in winter time. So it rotates in the Gregorian calendar, but it's always the 9th month. So maybe next year and the year before that we might come here, maybe close to January. Or I wonder if I'll be around to see Ramadan coming on Christmas time.
I remember one of our first Ramadan was actually during September celebration. And I could always remember being constrained, because you know you don't want a celebratory type of feeling, but you were constrained because of your fasting during that period. So you're right, it rotates, so there'll be different seasons and different times. And those of us who have been Muslims for many years have seen it in all these different times, which is good.
Which is very
but
good.
But what actually happens during the Ramadan? What does a Muslim do during Ramadan?
Okay, well, one of the things I want to start off, might sound strange to people, is the Quran. We say it comes from Allah, that's the Almighty God who made Adam, and He gives very simple, basic instruction about what He wants people to do. He says in the Quran, you know, Kutiba alaykum siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. You Muslims, you're going to fast because it's written down for you, but people before you used to do it. So Muslims are taught, listen, you're not even doing anything special. Fasting, you know, people who might have some remembrance of the Christian tradition, that they say Jesus, peace be upon him, fasted 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. You know, we heard that Moses went up to the mountain and he was there with God for a length of time, and these are like periods of abstaining from interacting with food and women and certain types of things. So basically Muslims are told there's just a ayyam madudat. It's very easy. It's a limited number of days, you know, 29 or 30 days. You all are going to abstain from food and drinking and women. But this is not something unique to you. This is something that people did before. And there is one unique thing that most of the time we Muslims miss out, is God says, la'allakum tattaqun. He says, maybe you might become better, or people use the word taqwa to say righteous or holy or this, but it means that it's possible this thing can be good for you. Why? Because obviously somebody has said, why is this a Muslim they fast year in, year out, and you look like they get no more righteous, they look like they're still bad. that fasting is supposed to be something where purify them, and look like the what one purify them in the fast for 30 years and then
hard to purify them.
Hard to purify them. So I love the language that God put in the Quran, that it's possible this thing might be good for you. And you know, as I teach sometime and I see some children, they come to the Muslim school and they're just so smart and clever and excited and enthusiastic. So you know, education good for them. And you have some children who come there, they know I have nothing to do with school. So they could go through the same process school, but it looked like it was no benefit to them. You come out of school, because then they had a different mindset. So fasting is the same thing. If you go into fasting with a good mindset, maybe you come out with something good. But if you go in there with a, why? I don't like this, I want to do fasting become a torture. I look like the person come out worse. But when you just made the fast, you want to come fight now? You want to come behave bad? So it is possible that this training can be good. So
it is said by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, pretty much close to what you're saying, that some people fast and all they get out of the fast is weakness, bad breath, and hunger.
And hunger.
And some people fast and they go and they elevate to a much higher level. Can you explain that?
Well, this is like, as you were saying, as I was saying earlier, you know, Muslims, we watch everything in the world. We see people who are Tibetan monks, martial artists, people who go into military training, exercise program, and then they come out of it all enthusiastic and happy because they were going through a training that they love. And that thing benefited them. And then you see other people go into things and it's like the thing damaged them, like they were just rebel or something was wrong in them. So the human being always have to look at himself and say, if I'm giving all this resistance to think why they want good program, but I do resist it. So that thing actually harms people. So there's another concept that you would say goes in a lot of human thought, that not all sides fit everybody. Not everybody is made. Some people, why Ramadan would have been their great thing. They love it. They recite the whole Quran. They could do all of the prayers. Some people, you know, we in Belize, we say 11 prayers. Some people want to do 36, 40, 50. Like, they could stand up all night and pray. That's not some people cup of tea. Yeah. Some other people might want to say, my contribution in Islam, I want to be a good policeman. And protect you from the criminal.
And that's legitimate.
And that's legitimate. Yeah, exactly. You know, so different things inspire people. Yeah.
So everybody, you know, shouldn't think that this is the one personality and all of it have to be like that.
All of it have to be like that. You know, realistic, but sometimes we Muslims, we like to be, oh, Kaiko fast, good, and I love it and this and that. Why this person he like teach? Yeah. This person he like help people. These people like go around and do adults thing for others. That's a vocation and that's a good thing. But you know, like fast.
Yes. So do what you do and do it best.
And do it best.
Well, what does the Quran say about Christians? Because in this world of propaganda, there are many people who believe that the Quran speaks against Christians in a condemnative kind of way, and that if you are a real Muslim, you're supposed to hate Christians. Can you explain that?
Well, we'd say this is like a false concept that even maybe some Muslims promote. There's some Muslims have this crazy idea that if you're not a Muslim, you're not really equal to a Muslim, when this is a false thing. I mean, if you go back even, you would say maybe this is why Jesus condemned some of the Jews. They make it feel like, well, if you're not a Jew, how can you be one of the chosen people? How God one like you and you don't know a Jew? Only Jews special, everybody else not special. But then when we look at human beings, we know that these human construct of Jews, Buddhists, Muslims, this, that, circumstantial, we can't get out of it. But people are people. So if you're a Muslim and you don't like people, for whatever it is that they are human being, you know, they are just like you, and there's no practical evidence in the life of the Prophet and early Muslims where discrimination. As a matter of fact, we have some tradition coming down that the Prophet said, if a person is not a Muslim and you harass, abuse, did anything wrong against him unjustly, I will come against you on the day of judgment and argue against you, the Muslim, who harm a non-Muslim for no reason.
Something wrong.
Yeah, for something wrong. And then if we go to Quranic text, there is many, I guess, Christian scholars, Jewish scholars, they can read it and say, well, Muslims, wait, you can marry a Christian woman, you can marry a Jewish woman? Yes. And even the Quran go explicitly to say that the people who are called Christians, they are so close to you, Muslim, because they are men who dedicate themselves to religious programs, to studying things. They are polite, they're not arrogant, they're humble, they're good people, and they are so close to you all because they're not bombastic and arrogant. They have humility in their heart. They are close to you, Muslim.
Well, particularly for us who grew up in Belize, which is a predominantly Christian country in terms of, not the law, but in terms of people, adhering to Christianity. And we being here as a Muslim community over 50 years, our mother and father may not have become Muslim, but we love them just the same.
Just the same.
Our brother and sister may not have become Muslim, but we love them just the same.
Mhm.
And they love us just the same.
Yes.
And so if we were promoting a religion that hates Christianity, then we would not have been able to survive the way that we have survived
Yeah.
today, who have mother who is still not a Muslim, a father who may not be a Muslim, a daughter who may not be a Muslim, or a son who may not be a Muslim. But it's not a condemnation, but rather an understanding that God will bless you in his own time and not according to my time.
Yeah.
So the way I am trying to treat you now, walking down the street exclusive, is, as you said, it's very much like that mistake that the Jews were making to say, you're a Gentile, I don't even have to talk to you. I am better than you, you know. So I'm glad that you're making that explanation clear, particularly because after what has happened in the Gaza with the slaughter of over 70,000 men, women, and children, there are some people, and I heard with my own ear and I read it in Facebook, that thought that this was justified, that God gave permission for the Israelis to kill those Muslims, even babies, slaughter them, bomb them, kill them. Why? Because they're not Muslim, they're not people of God. How could we conceive that? But yet there are people, and I could show you the proof on Facebook, then 70,000 people, then deserve for dead because they, where does that come from?
Yes. And this is where one of the things that as a Muslim I like to remind myself and others is that before I was a Muslim, I used to despise people who we would say holy more than they're righteous. You feel that you're better than everybody and you pretend and this and that, and then they find out that you're doing crazy stuff, but you're in front of everybody pretending that you are so good.
That's right.
So in the Jewish world, I'm sure in the Christian world, in the Muslim world, we will see Jews do some crazy things and say, well, am I so dislike all Jews? No, there are some Jews in the world who are saying, what did they do yourself? No, include me in that. I don't have nothing to do with what the state of Israel and Zionists and other people are doing. They have hijacked Judaism and the Jewish religion for their own political and other ends. So there's a lot of Jews who is telling people, no blame us, we Jews for that, that these people. And of course now you will have a lot of Christians today who will apologize. I mean, the Pope in Rome is saying many of the things that were done to what they used to call indigenous and native people, you know, in Canada, in this part of the world, in South America, all these things that some of the Christian missionary practiced, slavery. This was not from Christianity, that some people hijack Christianity, bend it to their own form, and abuse people under the name of Jesus, and Jesus will come and say, I didn't tell none of them to do that, that's definitely not from him. Muslims, we understand it, that it's not from Moses, it's not from Jesus, that people were doing anything in the name of Father, Son, and this. We don't believe that. And the same thing we Muslims must remind ourselves, because our Prophet tells us, with a human being, when a Muslim don't go, they go, Allahu Akbar, and Muhammad this, and go kill nobody and think I want there with Uno, and you know, to go off, because that's not what the prophets of God came about. But as I was saying earlier, the narrative is hijacked by the people who are like more, it's a political thing. They're not from the essence of what Moses taught, because Muslims 100% following Moses, 100% following Jesus, 100% are told to follow all of these prophets. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon all of them, the same. So we know it's not a religious thing, but people can hijack. And then in today's world, this is one of the things that we have a conflict when we are looking at what the President of America, Trump, is doing. Kind of look like he attack some people, we got some big money, and we're doing some big money scheme. And when you talk about money laundering, It's like the United States government is the biggest money laundering scheme in the world.
Yes.
Right? And it look like he attacked them. So when you look sometime at the basis of human conflict, that the love for money and power, they're not a religious thing. You get a greedy Muslim here and kill people. You get a greedy Christian here and kill people. You get a greedy Jew here and kill people because they got land, real estate, this, that. And then we think that's a religion.
So we are blaming ourselves religiously when in reality it's not. It's a human greed and human corruption.
It's a human greed and human corruption.
We're going to continue that, and when we come back, we're going to open the phone lines and we're going to ask the questions so that you're able to win one of those bag of food. We'll be back.
In Belize, we value our families.
right, welcome back. Our guest this morning is Imam Khalim El Amin, and we promise now to open the phone lines and to give you an opportunity to gain one of these bags while he's answering some more questions. Let me throw the first question out there.
Yes.
Can you tell us where the first temple, on which street it was located? Oh, lad, this don't take no time.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome, caller, welcome.
Yes, I'm waiting.
Yes, you're waiting. Please go ahead, you're on the air now.
Oh, man, yeah. Okay, sorry. All right, hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I just want to talk about, and I believe that we have to wake up and all the time. This sounds really fishy to me, that all the UDP get so crazy, all of them just they, you understand me? That sounds like some kind of evil gone in that, down in that. All of them they fight up for what? I don't understand. It's only Putin to me. Somebody do something. That's not so normal. I don't know if people find it normal, but I don't find it normal. Then what different UDP, what different red, what different. That's not normal. Something happened. Something happened. And the people know good about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Yeah. All right, our number here is 2805848. We would prefer if you call on the subject that we're dealing with now. It's not that her subject was not relevant to what's going on in the country in general, but we're trying to focus in now on the subject with our guests. The question that we're asking is, if you are in Belize City, since the first temple was opened here in Belize City, we're no longer called temples, but when we came out of the Nation of Islam, it was called temple. And if you know what street it was located in Belize City, you could win one of the bags. Welcome, caller.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, brother.
How are you, brother?
Oh, we good, brother.
How is brother Imam doing?
We're doing well, alhamdulillah.
I want to answer the question, brother.
I don't know if I ain't go, you not qualified, bro. How you unqualified? we look for non-Muslims to get this bag, man, you know, and you, of course, you don't know the answer to this thing, brother Elroy. Anyway, go ahead and answer the question, Elroy.
Answer the question, yeah. Telling him he can't coin off the thing, then go out of the masjid for it.
Oh, yeah. What street was it? Ah, you're wrong. That's good. I'm glad you're missing, boy. I'm glad you're missing. You're missing. You're wrong, brother Elroy. But the Imam said if you come by the masjid today, you will be able to get a bag anyway. All right?
All right, brother.
All right, good. Okay, my brother. All the best. Assalamu alaikum. All right, so that question is still relevant. It's not Race Course Street. So if anybody knows the street that the temple was on, then please, by all means, call us and let it. So when we refer to Ramadan, most people remember Lent.
Yes.
And the 40 days of the fast of Jesus, alayhi salatu salam, and that in fact the idea of Lent was etched in our minds, so that when we started to tell people about Ramadan, we associated Ramadan with Lent because we know that people used to abstain during that period of time. Can you do that association for our listeners and viewers as to what is the similarity between this month of fasting that the Muslims do and that 40 days of Lent, which begins this Wednesday, by the way, Ash Wednesday?
Okay, well, as I said earlier, some of the general description in the Quran was given very easy and simple, we would say, by God. And as time went along, Muslims look at Ramadan and we try to find philosophical, theological, all types of justification of its goodness and try to rationalize it. So you would say many Muslims would tell you that fasting can help a person with some health issue, you know, for abstaining that from food sometimes improve people's health. It improves the discipline in our person, or a general feeling that, well, I'm doing something to be closer to God. And this is where it is very important that the Prophet hinted and say that if a person fasts but doesn't give up bad behavior, you know, cheating and lying and this and all of these things, then he's not really fasting, then, and that God even really don't need his fast. That fast is a waste of time. So fasting is like a self-introspection. I'm going to be abandoning food and drink. So this takes willpower to have food in front of you and then don't eat it. We know that in the world today, some people can't find food. They could go for a month in night and they never get nothing to eat. This happens a lot in the world. That's not fasting when you can't find no food. Fasting is, the food is in front of me, I'm disciplining myself. I could eat it if I want, but I will not. So I'm learning some self-control. But it's also nothing that is spectacular, because there are so many concessions that we would say God put in the Quran that you should fast, but if you're traveling, no fast. If you're sick, don't fast. If it is a child, don't fast. If it's a woman who is pregnant or giving sucking babies, they don't fast. So fasting is for like a limited amount of strong, good, healthy, normal people. But if you have anything that is this fasting will harm you, God said, leave it alone. I'm not interested in you proving to others, but the ones them who are capable and strong, let them do it. So it is actually sometimes put in the Quran that God asks us to do things as a mercy to our own self. Now, not that, well, he's trying to make it tough, but he says, Yuridullahu bikumul yus. God wants to make it easy for you. You know, I make it difficult for you. But we as human beings, we turn everything into difficulty. Yes. If you know difficult, then I can't show off that I did something so hard and you weak. I am better than you. I could handle difficult things. But God presented that I wasn't even trying to make things difficult for people.
Yes, yes.
Why? What? Human beings don't need to prove themselves to God.
Indeed.
I'm giving you something difficult to prove to me. I already know no capabilities, no limitations.
I don't know you already.
I don't know you already.
It used to remind me of something I read a couple of weeks ago, which was debunking the athletic idea that without pain, there is no gain. He said it's a false concept. You could make much gain without pain if you know what you're doing, you know. Anyway, the idea of compensation for not fasting. For example, if a person is traveling and he or she doesn't have to fast that day, what do they have to do to make up for those days that they missed? Or do they?
Well, you would say if a person is a traveler for 3 or 4 years, he's on an expedition, he's doing something like what we want to say, maybe Ibn Battuta, Christopher Columbus, somebody, they out traveling.
Always traveling.
They are traveling. Yeah. Then they can find an alternative to fasting. If they want, they can do it, if they feel that they can handle it. Because in the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, some people travel and some fast and some no fast, and he never praise or condemn the next one. You never want to fast, that's okay, I want to fast, that's okay. Because it's a personal thing. It's not everybody fasting together, only you know if you do fast, so it's very individualistic. So if you think you can do it, you do it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to compel others.
So it sounds as though this draconian idea that some people have to be policing others, like, you know the fast, or were you fast, or how much you eat, or what you, or are you praying? It sounds as though you're saying that is contrary to the spirit of Islam.
It's very contrary to the spirit, and as I said, it's actually, if you go to the Quranic text, which is supposed to be superior. And of course, one of the things that people criticize Muslim scholars and the Islamic establishment is that sometimes they put aside the Quran and they go to a tradition or a culture or something, and we God saying that the Quran no matter today. This is what we do, this is what we think. Well, that's okay, but don't impose it on everyone.
Is that what also happens when it comes to women's dress, as you and I were talking before? There's some people that condemn women if they see one little bit of calf, or if they see a little bit of hair. You're not a real Muslim because you should be covered. Some even suggest that you should be covered completely in black, and you should not even be showing your face. What's your response to that?
Well, this is what I told you, that when a Muslim studies the religion over many years, you've been hearing these statements 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 40 years, and then you will see that clothing does not affect the heart of people at all. You could cover from head to toe and be evil and wicked. We get the assumption that by way you look like the you. This is not it. Even the Quran tells us, it said the blessed clothing that one have is like a taqwa, God consciousness. That is, a person can be without no clothes, naked, and still be a good, righteous person.
Do you know that Sandra spoke this morning of something very similar? We were on a different subject, but she was talking about America always tries to solve their problem from outside in instead of inside out.
Yes.
And you're saying something very similar here, that we tend to always think we could fix it by outside, but inside the corruption is still there.
Yes. And then this shocks a person if you go to a Muslim country or somewhere and you interact, and the woman dressed something like, just like a Muslim, 100%, you'd only see eye. But she's out there hustling as what we would call a prostitute. A prostitute can put on that type of thing, so that clothing is not like, this is an automatic. It's not that we want to tell people, okay, just show off everything. Just do whatever you want, because it's all in the heart. Islam is not all in the heart that, well, I know I show no factual things because I just believe in a God in my heart, and I could go kill people and do everything, this, that. But it is the action of a person that counts more. And appearances, it is great, but it is, we will find that, listen.
It could fool you.
It could fool you. Or that you can find women who are good, like, I am influenced a lot like everybody. Well, not like everybody, but many people might say similar things. I had a grandmother. She was not a Muslim. She never covered her hair. I watch her gray hair all the time. But from I was growing up, if you ask me whether I'm a good woman, my granny here carried me to the Adventist church, and sometimes I go to the Wesley church and this and that, and you know, talk about people, and you know, do bad things. And they were the image when I'm growing up of a righteous woman, and even up till today.
Yes, yes.
They're not good people, but they never dress like a Muslim. So we know that just because somebody don't have something on their head, oh, that is, you know.
So stop looking on the outside and start looking on the inside. Here's the last question, because we're running out of time and nobody apparently don't know. The answer to that question, by the way, was Plus Street.
Yes.
Plus Street. And then we went to Crawl Road. And then after Crawl Road, we went to Racecourse Street. And then from Racecourse Street, we went to the current building that we now occupy. What about the question, where is Mecca? That was some hard.
Yes.
Where is Mecca? 2805848, and this may be the only person that wins, because that's such an easy question. What are some of the things that take place during the month of Ramadan? We know, for example, we wake up early in the morning and have a small meal, and then later after the sun sets, we have a regular meal. But then later on at the mosque, at the masjid, there's also some prayers that are done. Can you talk about that for those who would like to be part of those sessions?
Okay, so as we were saying that the routine here in Belize.
All right, here's a caller. Welcome, caller. Hello? Yes. Yes, sir, welcome. No, brother, you're listening to the radio and the TV. Please, you got to listen in the phone and give us a call. You got to call back, caller. Something went wrong there. But go ahead, please.
Yes, as the tradition is growing in Belize, we get up before the sunrise is when you're supposed to have a small meal that is recommended.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, welcome, caller.
Morning.
Morning.
Want to transfer the question?
Yes, of course.
Is it in Saudi Arabia?
That is the correct answer. You are the winner. You want to come by Krem to pick up your bag, or you want to go by the masjid?
Krem.
All right. And your name?
Anisha.
Anisha.
Arnau.
Arnau. Okay, Miss Arnau, you could come anytime. It's already here. It's only a matter of picking it up, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. We've got to make some last comments now. I think we've given it justice.
Yes.
Because it's something that people are already used to. At the end, by the way, those inmates that are incarcerated in the prison, the Belize Central Prison, do fast and are given their right to fast. And we want to acknowledge that, because not every institution allows the Muslims to be able to fast. And so we want to acknowledge that. There's still a lot of areas that the Colby Foundation need to adjust in acknowledging the presence of Muslims in the prison. But when it comes to their fasting of Ramadan, the prison has allowed them to fast in the Ramadan and to also enjoy the end of Ramadan, which is there is an Eid celebration, right?
Very good.
And you have also attended that. So I'll give you some final words that you may want to convey because of the tightness of our time now.
Okay, as I was saying, for us in Belize City and the people in the Port Layola area, most people in that area naturally interact with the Muslims, so they know that in the month of Ramadan, every day at what we call iftar, which just means we're breaking the fast.
Right.
When the sun goes down, there is always food in the masjid.
Right.
And when we do it together, we feel a sense of, I would say, belonging or unity, because Muslims are told you can come to a masjid if it is within, say walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 5, 10, 20 miles, then it will be difficult. But if you're close enough, you can come to the masjid and break the fast. And in the night of Ramadan, between the hours of 8 and 9, there is recitation of the Quran. And we are happy that last year, and this year we will probably share it, last year we had a Belizean who recited the whole Quran from beginning to end. So those people who watch and say, boy, you got foreigners and all kind of people and they could recite the whole Quran. Well, we even have Belizean locally who can recite it. So it is not something that is, you're so outstanding that many people are so outstanding. Anybody go and practice it, they could do it. They have Chinese do it.
Absolutely.
African do it. Indian.
Absolutely.
It's something that anybody could do.
It's a language.
It's just a language and it's just training. It's nothing that makes you so superior, but it's a good practice that Muslims, we become familiar with our religion, and so it's hard for Muslims to deviate from the Quran. Because everybody know it. They know a special thing, they know a secret society, they know we got the real one and then got something else.
Yeah.
Everybody got one copy.
There's no priest class.
There's no priest class.
Yeah.
There's no priest class.
Yeah.
So there's no monopoly on knowledge, because every Muslim say, me got that too.
Yeah.
If you're wrong, I'll tell you. I don't need to be one imam, one scholar, one this and that. I have it too. You know, so that is very great for the.
Yeah, it's a blessing, really.
It's a blessing.
My brother, you know, it's difficult to end this because, you know, it's so much information and benefit. But I'll give you a final word again, just to close off.
Okay, well, by and large, you know, it is sometimes expected that religious leaders give the best wishes to the people in the country, you know, best wishes to our Prime Minister, to leader of the opposition, to people who are into political season and all of this thing that we know about the human nature. We know some of these things is where we're all trapped in our own bubble and experience and this and all of it. I want to say things different. You know, Muslim want things different, POP want it, Donald Trump, everybody want things, but we have to deal with realities. And the best we can remind people, as we say, Muslim came to remind people that, listen, we are all human, even if you don't want to say there is a God. But at least we could agree that we are human, and then all the religion like to tell us, do unto others as you would like to be done unto you. You don't want nobody to lie, cheat, hurt, oppress, this, that to you. Well, not do that to nobody. Because we are human, at this, that we can agree on. And then the other thing that it could be like, we have to give a slight warning. Politicians, stop insulting each other to the extreme. Yes, say all the thing and the criticism, but be a little more diplomatic. No, come out and just try to embarrass one next person and make it look like it's so simple.
Stop the hate.
Stop the hate, you know.
Stop the hate.
Yeah, criticize them, but no go to a personal thing and make the person look like, you know, human. We're all human in this process, because it makes us feel, instead of lift you up and make we said why we honor that person, when you insult and bring down people to not you to bring down yourself, so you look bad in some of our eyes. So just be aware of that. And that goes not only for politicians, but for the common man too.
Yes, yes.
You know, so we can't tell the politician no insult and say nasty things. We shouldn't do it. All of it goes for.
Can I use the occasion also to say something that Brother Cliff said to me yesterday, which I think is beneficial. Cliff years ago used to work for the only national radio, which is Radio Belize.
Yes.
And he used to cover the house meetings in Belmopan.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we house meeting very contentious, and man, they cuss out one another across the floor, and etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but when there was a break,
mm-hmm.
and they had to go in at the room there,
mm-hmm.
where all of them, he said you had Black Label, you had, you know, Johnny Walker, you had Doers whiskey.
Yeah.
He said, the man in the past from the whiskey with one another while they eat piece of fried chicken. Boy, you like how I deal with your brother? He said, yeah, but this afternoon I want to deal with you too.
Yeah.
So
it's like a performance.
They are going through for their thing as friends. Well, we out here,
yes.
blue shirt and red shirt, we fight one another to the point where I want to kill you and all.
Yes.
You know, so it's very important to not allow ourselves to fall down to those levels.
Yes.
And it's important now because with the politics heating up as it is, you know, there could be serious conflicts of the ordinary people among themselves. And then politicians, they no got that kind of hostility among themselves. Mm-hmm. So we should remember that. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for your presence this morning, my brother. It's always important to slow the process down and listen and look at the frames. Yes. And that's what I think we did this morning, is to look at Islam within the frames and not look at it based on propaganda that we have gotten. So I thank you very much for you being present.
And we thank you too. You know, we thank Krem. We appreciate, like, a simple thing that Krem said, we take it for granted. Be with self, see with self. You know, it's a simple thing. This is a blessing that Belizean can have their own radio station, own TV station. We could see with self, and nobody have to say what we think. We can come and say what we think.
Exactly.
So we thank frame, you know. We say Alhamdulillah for this development.
Indeed, indeed,
You know.
absolutely, and that's my attraction behind the zinc fence.
Yes.
We got any more break? All right, so we'll take our last break and then I will come back and close out.
The Social Security Board, in collaboration with the Labor
that is our show for this week, actually. And we appreciate very much the presence of Brother Kaleem this morning to explain some of the intricacies of Ramadan. And as you can see just from his presence here, there are many other areas outside of Ramadan that is also beneficial for those who are trying to learn more about Islam. I have not used my position or knowledge of the religion of Islam to use the privilege, and I consider it a privilege and not a right, permitted me on this forum to turn it into a platform for teaching Islam. I have not done that, and I have not done that consciously, because I was not invited here as an imam. I was invited here as a public commentator on the issues affecting beliefs, and I have tried to keep me within the definition of that privilege. It's not that I can't turn this into a forum for talking about Islam, but that is not why I was invited to be a part of the host for this morning's show. So I'm saying that because some people say, well, Brother Nuri, how come you don't, why you invite, brother, you could do that yourself, why? Because that is not what I was asked to do when I came here. This is not an Islamic program in the morning, so I cannot go outside of my lane. Not that I can't, but I should not, because that is not what I was invited here. And so I want to thank Brother Kaleem, who did an excellent job this morning in not only explaining the practical applicability of this way of life called Islam and this fasting that we do in the Ramadan month, but I think he did it in such a calm, relaxed way that it invites people to hear what this way of life is about without feeling intimidated or feeling as though you're trying to find out about an other. He made it so practical that you can identify with it even if you are not a Muslim or even if you're not a believer in God. So I want to thank him for his presence here this morning in sharing with this month of Ramadan that begins tomorrow. That means that we will wake early before the sunrise, which is what we do every morning anyway, have a light meal and begin the first day of fasting, which is March 1st, 2025. So thank you very much for being with us this morning. We want to thank those in the background. Anthony Grant is the simulcast person at Crim Radio. Upstairs we had Miss Alexi Belaid as our MCO this morning, and of course we had Mr. Cliff Lewis doing what he does every weekday morning here. Belizeans, stand strong and stand firm and do the right thing. So now we got.
Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show my people. Belize our hopes are to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love